Welcome to Thursday Night Talk. This is a show where we discuss the week in Humboldt, the local issues, and the local personalities. I'm Talvi Freed, and I'll be your local host for the next hour. Our topic this week is the lulz. Of course, behind the redwood curtain. Who or what is Savage Henry? What's the size and scope of the Humboldt comedy scene? Are there opportunities for budding comedians to get involved? Does anyone know a good knock-knock joke? I hope not. Well, I hope so, at least. Joining us tonight, we've got Chris Durant, co-founder of Savage Henry Magazine and the founder of the Savage Henry Comedy Club. We've got Jessica Grant, comedian and workshop leader, mostly held at Savage Henry, but I know that she has also done some workshops elsewhere and has read to children at the local library because she works there for quite a bit. Petty since 83, comedian Josh Barnes, and the legendary, I guess Nando is watching Ant-Man. Nando Molina, because you're a comedian, I'm just going to say you were supposed to be on the show, but you chose Ant-Man over this show. I still love you. I'll catch you on a future show. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
I do want to congratulate Josh on releasing his second album recently. There will be time for self-promotion throughout and at the end of this. So that's quite a feat. We'll get into it, though it's not actually easy to come up with an entire hour or longer set of jokes that are actually yours and not other people's regurgitated media. Though I want to start off with perhaps this is to Chris, because you've been in the comedy scene the longest of anyone here on this panel. And what was the comedy scene in Humboldt? Like, what created the comedy scene in Humboldt County to begin with?
Well, after about a year of the magazine and there wasn't any live comedy hitting, I started listening to a bunch of comedy podcasts and started thinking, why isn't there any live comedy? And then William Startery and Andrew Goff did a open mic at Mazzotti's, and it was packed out. And I'm like, wow. And I just took their name. I think it was So You Think You Could Funny. I think I even just stole their name too. But and then we just did it the month later at it was called the Jambalaya then, but at the Jambalaya in Arcata, and just took off from there.
What year was that?
11, I think.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
What caused you to start Savage Henry Magazine?
I've been doing zines for decades, and mostly copy machine staple ones, and I just always wanted to write. I was just seemed like built into it. And then when I was the Northern Lights editor, for Time Standard, and I went on family leave for a little bit and came back, and I no longer had a Northern Lights, and they wanted to put me back as the cop reporter, and I didn't want to go back to that. So my friend and co-founder of the magazine, Sarah Godlin, said, let's make our own. And we've been trying to keep up with it since.
So Jessica and Josh, I feel like you're on the same screen. So for those who are listening to this live on radio, this will be featured on our Access Humboldt TV station as well as on YouTube to permanently memorialize this moment. So choose those words wisely, guys. No, just messing with you. Though you came in a little later after the comedy scene had already kind of been established in Humboldt County. And this goes back to the question of, are there opportunities for comics who just kind of want to get into it? Let's start with Jessica, because I think you came in about a year or two before Josh. And
Actually, I started just after Josh.
Oh, really? Well, then, Josh, let's start with you. So I know you guys kind of became fast friends. Though, Josh, what caused you to first step up to that open mic?
It took me a while to actually get into the scene, but once I finally found out that they were having it at the Eureka Inn, it was the mic actually ran by Nando. The open mic-y. I finally found my way in there, and it was really nervous for me. I came from Riverside, and I had only done a few things down there, a few shows, and so this was my first open mic. So I was really nervous, but it was a big experience for me. It felt really good, and then I think Jessica and Trevor Evan, all of us met within that next few months, next year. We kind of became a little crew. And Chris was the one who put me on the fest shortly after I got here, and really just kind of set me on my way. So yeah, with Savage Henry and stuff.
So Jessica, same question. What made you go, I should start talking into a microphone?
I probably since I was like 11 years old, really knew deep down that I really wanted to be a comedian. I think I like first vocalized it when I was like 24, like said it out loud to my friends. And when I was 25, I read the Comedy Bible by Judy somebody. The first one that comes up when you Google the Comedy Bible. And one of her suggestions was pick a date 2 weeks from this time to commit to going to an open mic. And so I did it. I wrote it in my planner and I followed through, and then I went back just about every week since then.
And how has your experience progressed from that first time you started doing open mics to like, what did it feel like when you actually got your first booking?
It felt amazing. And thank you for that information. The book, The Comedy Bible, is by Judy Carter. Thank you. I ended up being booked on my first show through Chris Durant at the Jambalaya within about a month of starting comedy. And I did a show with some Bay Area comedians and was just kind of like fully immersed into comedy. Very welcoming situation. So I think that even if I had kind of like a bad set my first time, I think the crew would have encouraged me to come back anyways. But fortunately, I was very funny right from the get-go.
Well, Chris, I know you also have actually taken the microphone and not just been a person setting people up to take the microphone. And I know you it sounds like you started this more to allow other people to have a voice and to have the zine to be kind of your mouthpiece a little bit. Though I know you've taken the mic as well. I've seen a few shows where you actually do stand up, and you do pretty well.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
The check will clear.
Though, was there any, like, did you ever look at this as kind of a vanity project of, I'm going to do this for me? Or was it just, this is just, I'm a fan and I'm going to do this because I'm a fan?
Yeah, I didn't have any ambitions to have my name or anything all over this or my face on anything. When I do shows, and mainly because everyone else flaked, so I have to go up and do something. But I don't like it. I don't like being on stage in front of a crowd. I thank you for your nice words about saying I was funny, but I'm way funnier when I'm getting in Josh's ear and bugging the heck out of him when he's waiting to go up or something. Yeah, I didn't do it for me at all. I had no intention. I was at the open mic and it just became really popular and just people kept coming and a bunch of comics started coming. It's like we all found it at the same time that's what we're supposed to do, and yeah. And then I just love being a producer. I love booking. I love festivals. No, I love the Sunday after the festival is when I love the festival. But it just feels natural for me to be right here and has nothing to do with my face or my name.
Before Savage Henry and comedy, what did you do?
In Humboldt, I moved up here in 2002. I was a cop reporter for the Times Standard. And then I was a Northern Lights editor after being a cop reporter for like 6 or 7 years, I think. And I was a Northern Lights editor for a while. And then it's Humboldt. So after I quit, after I did into Savage Henry full time, I was on the Hill from time to time to help make ends meet. So Yep. And then the other magazines became, it's like either crap or get off the pot type of thing, where it's like, well, if you're gonna do it, you got to put it all in. You'll jump right into it, and you got to put everything into it.
So well, I want to go back to Josh and Jessica, because I know, Josh, you just did release your second album, though Jessica, you did a recording as well. What is it like going through the experience of, so you started off at the open mics, you started getting bookings, suddenly you're doing recordings, and what is the process of doing recordings? Are you like, do you get signed to somebody, or?
Both of our recordings were self-produced. Mine was more in the interest of kind of wanting to broaden my material and not throw away what I've got, but get it down somewhere tangible, hopefully on actual CDs soon. Just to have that little moment in history, I guess, even if it's just for myself.
For me, I felt like I had done these jokes enough, and that they were polished and ready to be like put out, and hope that, you know, that people would hear them. It was also like she said, just self-produced locally. We had a few comics who helped out with the recording for each one for the video, and we, you know, I was able to put that together and have that out online too, where people can find it. So I have audio and video, and hoping to have that done for the second one as well too. But it's a strong process. I mean, it's a lot of work to put together like a full hour or so of comedy, and like have that down packed and know how it flows. Like, you know, like watching like Jessica do that, you know, or like knowing the process of like what it means to have that done is like pretty big for us, you know, especially at these stages in our careers.
How many years did it take you to go from, you know, stepping on the stage the first time to being able to create that hour of content?
I think, I mean, not to sound cocky, but I think we both kind of dove in head first. I personally had notebooks and notebooks of just things that I had written down that had happened or crossed me as funny. So I would say a good 2 years of performing made me feel comfortable enough that like I feel like I should be performing, I guess.
Yeah.
That's when the confidence kicked in.
Yeah, like she said, we did kind of dive in head first. I felt like it took me about, I did a whole year last time on my first one of like kind of touring it and getting it ready and polishing it and doing it in different ways to have like that to the point where I could just have it running back and forth in my head. But the last one, I had a little bit less time due to, you know, like the COVID and everything that happened, and not being able to go out of town as much. So like my last one was probably only about a year and a half or so, but the first one was like total probably about 3 years, with a year of just touring, of just doing that over and over again.
I mean, I hear a lot of people say, because I used to do stand-up comedy, so I remember that silly goofy time. One of the most common statements that I would hear from people in the audience, whether it be, I mean, I wouldn't hear it when I'm on stage because I was on stage, so I couldn't hear it. But when other people were doing, people would be like, I could do better. I could do that. And especially they do that at open mics where they're not realizing this is kind of a practice ground for a lot of comics. Though, how many hours do you think you put in to actually get that 1 hour? You know, to get even 15 minutes, how many hours did you put in for that 15 minutes of like, to be able to do a repeatable set?
Oh, I mean, took us what, 15, 30 seconds per album? No, we're joking.
Yeah.
Probably, for me, I would say 100 hours or hundreds of hours, because there are times where I'm only going up for 5 minutes at a time, or 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And so for me, for my hour, in my head, I kind of broke it up into 6 10-minute chunks. Like if I could do 10 minutes of this material solid, and then, you know, Lego block, stack another 10 minutes of polished material. But yeah, it definitely, it for sure took a lot of stage time to work it out.
I mean, the thing is, you want it to be polished and good. So like, you know, like having a good joke is fine, but like, you know, like she said, finding like, you know, where it all fits, or like, you know, the puzzle pieces and building the blocks, that's the part where it takes a little bit more time. And so like, yeah, like I was saying on the first one, I had more time to go out. So I had longer sets. I could do like a 30-minute set to practice. But like Jessica said, when we're here in town, if we're not afforded that time, you just kind of mix and match and, you know, see what you can piece here and there. And, you know, some sets are shorter than the other ones, but they still have the main points that you're looking for, you know, like the stuff that you need to practice, you know, and get ready. But yeah, I'd say about like a good year and a half, 100-something sets.
And that's with multiple sets per week as well. To go back to the workshops that Jessica hosts, you guys, that was one thing that wasn't there when I first started, was people doing actual workshops. Like people would get together sometimes and be like, oh, let's sit and write for an hour before, you know, the open mic, but it wasn't like an actual dedicated, you know, group when I first started, and then you guys joined in. And you were like, let's actually create something and help other people out. And I was like, that's awesome. Though, what principles are you teaching in those workshops?
It's a pretty laid back workshop. It's not extremely formal. I would say the most formal thing we do is when we're workshopping, sometimes I'll set a timer and give a prompt and have everybody write for 4 or 5 minutes and see what they come up with. But other times we'll just pass the mic around with a prompt, and being able, I think, to like sit in a seat. You don't have to be up on the stage. You get to practice talking into the microphone. You get to practice all the scary aspects of comedy before you have to really worry about your material, which I think is helpful. I have still terrible stage fright, and I get extremely nervous, and my nervous tick is to talk way too fast. So running the workshops on Sundays has also helped me in my stage presence and so on.
For those interested, you said that the workshops are Sundays?
Yeah, Sundays from 7 to 8 p.m. and it is drop-in. It's kind of the same format every week with different topics and ideas. And then after that, you got an hour before the open mic. You can stick around and try it out.
And that's in Eureka at the Savage Henry Comedy Club?
Yes.
Awesome. Just to let people know, we are about to take our break, and I just want you guys to mentally wrap your head around the questions I'm about to ask, because it's going to be about the comedy festival. And for the reason I joined Access Humboldt was to create a documentary on the Savage Henry Comedy Festival. So I've got hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of videos that I will never release, despite me having permission to do so. Though we'll be right back. You're listening to KZZH right here. Welcome back, everyone. This is Thursday Night Talks. I'm here with Chris Durant from Savage Henry, Jessica Grant, comedian and workshop host, and then Joshua Barnes, just petty since 83, yo, petty since 83. I'm all about the petty. And I'm your host, Talvi Freed. We are discussing the comedy scene in Humboldt County, particularly involved with Savage Henry, since I've got three who are currently very heavily involved with Savage Henry, including the founder himself. Though, let's talk about one of the greatest and most debaucherous festivals that Humboldt County has every single year. And it almost seems like it's an underappreciated or almost people aren't fully aware of what's going on within it. So Chris, you're the one who founded the Savage Henry Comedy Festival, the comedy club, the magazine, and the festival as well. I'll let you go ahead and let people know what the festival is.
This is going to be our 12th year, I think, coming up in October. It's always Indigenous Peoples Day weekend, a Thursday, Friday, Saturday festival. No shows on Sunday besides the regular mic. And it's not just at our venue. We have lots of businesses, some we've been working with since the beginning, like Blondie's and Arcade and stuff. And we're bringing 120 to 140 comics from all over the country. Some just starting out, some legends sometimes, and it's just a crap show in the best of ways. But yeah, it's probably taken a few years off my life from time to time. But trying to manage 3 or 4 comedians to not embarrass themselves or the club. Imagine 140. So yeah. But yeah, it's fun. No, I'm not trying to. It's very. I think there was that one documentary, it's kind of with the mag and the festival that William had made. And a lot of people, when he was interviewing people on the fest, they said it's summer camp for comics. So, and there's no like industry involved. We don't have like comics going from being cool people to trying to climb on each other to get higher and stuff. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's a blast. Yeah. So that it, Bob. It's very funny. I don't know when to stop.
Okay. Josh, what's your experience? Because the first year you joined, you were immediately invited.
I was very fortunate. I got in there right at the end, and I was able to get on a couple of shows. It's a great experience. I mean, like, as a young comic or as just an aspiring comic, it's a good experience to see other comics, do things that can give you inspiration. It can show you different ways that you can, like, be a better comic. The shows are good in general, just seeing other people be funny, and like, it also just gives you a good chance as a comic to network, too, and like find different ways to get out. But like, I love the fest. It's like it's my favorite time of the year.
Any particular memory that stands out?
Nathan Lund came in one time and told a very funny joke, a joke that was so funny and it hit me so hard that I felt the need to tell him while he was using the bathroom. And we'll just leave it there. So yeah, I thought it was really funny. Yeah, I would just he, at the time he was a little bit not happy. But I've talked to him since then, and it was, a few times since then, but it was a very funny experience. He hardly remembered it, which made me feel even worse. So,
oh no.
He was like, yeah, that happens all the time. I was like, oh.
Jessica, what was your experience, your first festival, like, or any festival really?
Well, so I mean, Savage Henry is the only comedy festival I have ever participated in. This is my 5th year, I think. I missed 1 year. I was on a family vacation, which, you know what, I regret. I wish I would have blown them off and done the festival. I like to think of the festival as like our family, our comedy family reunion, where we, you know, get comics from all over the United States, and we get to hang out for a weekend on our turf. And I also, you know, I love hearing the people come from out of the area, who love this area for its beauty, for its fun, for its laid backness. Yeah, it's a blast.
It's like summer camp.
Yeah. And great for networking. Some of the people that I've met, some of the comedians I've met doing the comedy show have helped me out with booking kind of a road tour this summer in May. So I'll be headed out to Denver to see people that I met at the comedy festival here.
Yeah, some of my really good friends I met from the comedy fest, like my friends outside of here, we're at the comedy fest, from the comedy fest. People you don't realize you've known for years, you know, all of a sudden,
It feels like the comedy community is just this. It's weird. I've heard from, you know, people part of different organizations how, you know, you can go anywhere and there's somebody that will house you, potentially feed you, you know, bring a 6-pack of beer and you're in. I don't know if anybody remembers the Sylvan House or stayed there. I feel like they were almost, none of you stayed there.
I visited one
Chris
time.
has.
My van light went off. Sorry. Yes, I've stayed there. I've stayed there a bunch, and I'm still alive.
I stayed there a couple times. I'm still alive too. I don't know how, but I felt like they were almost like the Savage Henry of San Francisco in a way. Just that complete insanity of.
And if I'm not mistaken, Josh, one of the first times I took you out, didn't you go to the Sylvan House with me?
I did. Yeah, that was the
And
one and only
the-
time I stayed there.
The look on his face was like, what have you got me into?
That was the day that Dutch and I became best friends.
Oh, yeah, because you're all trying to escape plan or something. Yeah, my light, I can't get it on right now. It just, the van turned it off and my keys are inside. Sorry. That was a message I should have replied back to in text.
That's okay.
Oh, hey, look what I did.
Woo!
Yeah.
I was gonna say, can you open your door and shut it again? That's my joke for the day. Knock, knock. Open the door and shut it again. And the light turns on.
Oh, that's a good idea. I'm pretty dense.
Well, I mean, for attendees of the comedy festival, it's a very different experience. They go to shows, they see the comics doing their jokes. And I'm so not done talking about this because we haven't even, that's like the tip of the iceberg. Because again, I have hours and hours and hours recorded of behind the scenes footage that I promise I won't show, even though everyone there signed waivers. I don't know why they allowed me to do this. And I don't know why they felt like talking to me, but I've got everything from like Nando and Red Beer on a piano, just like jamming away to things that can incriminate people.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And it's fun. But the thing is that people who go to the shows as attendees can get involved quite a bit. They can be cheerleaders at the let's talk about the wiffle ball tournament. That is the most fun aspect of the entire event, and it's the most wholesome. Somewhat, if anything's wholesome here, it's going to be the wiffle ball tournament. Chris, you're the founder of that too, and I think maybe Dutch.
No, nope.
Just you.
I used to run a wiffle ball league in Sac before I moved up here, and then I ran one here for a while before comedy. So I basically started a whole comedy career just so I can justify having a wiffle ball game. So
it worked well. I played one year, and I did horrible during the actual game, but did great during training. I was robbed. I had it really bad. I'm blaming the other comic who threw the ball. Anyway, so, And then Kim hit like 3 home runs that day, and I was like, she was just Kim Hodges is another comedian that came out of the Savage Henry comedy scene. Which it's amazing how many comics have come out of just who started off being part of Savage Henry, who went on to be radio hosts, TV show hosts, major comedians. I don't think anybody has hit Saturday Night Live yet, but that doesn't mean it won't happen. The potential is definitely there. And
Joe Gorman.
what was that?
A comedian who has performed at the club and through Savage Henry, Joe Gorman, is now writing for Savage Henry. I mean, for Saturday Night Live.
And we have Brooks Whelan come up from time to time too. He was a cast member for a while.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There's quite a few people that come through and perform at the club that are just incredible. Who's been your favorite guest to perform there?
Me? Oh. I didn't mean me like that's my answer. I meant like you're asking me the
not
question.
vain at all. Not a fan.
What did Chris
Sam Talent is I've worked with him a bunch. He came on. He was a part of the very first festival, and it's his shows are very good. They're an event more than just a set up punch. It's like he gets the whole crowd involved, much to my chagrin sometimes. But not that he do sing-alongs or anything. By the end, everyone has a nickname that they still use probably to this day.
Let's go to Jessica. Who's your favorite performer that you've either performed with or has come through the club? Or just...
I have a favorite and I have a close runner-up. My favorite is Jackie Cation. I've been a fan of hers since I started watching comedy. And a runner-up would be Eddie Pepitone, who is just like the godfather of stand-up. And both people, I got to have pretty close, like intimate conversations. Not that intimate because I'm married. But just, like,
which I love.
If junior high Jessica knew she was going to have dinner with, one of her comedy idols, I don't know. I just don't think I would believe it, but it's been amazing.
I do want to say that I think it's funny that you didn't mention your husband as a favorite comedian that you perform with.
It's because I live with him.
Yes.
I live those puns.
It's like an open mic at their house every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time I come over here, Trevor has got a million jokes. So yeah, he's always performing.
I think that's just called having a humorous personality at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, who's your favorite performer?
Mine was I love performing for Kyle Kinane. Whenever he comes in town, it's always my favorite. Him and Billy Wayne Davis. One that is a comic, well, I guess not a comedy favorite, but it was a weird kind of circle. I saw him do comedy in San Diego before he came up here, is Mick Foley. And then he ended up coming up here like 7 or 8, 10 years later. And I was actually a comedian at the time and I got to open for him. And then we talked about that same show that he did some 10 years ago. So it was like a dream, like one of those weird, like full circle dreams. Like I'm a huge wrestling fan. And to see a wrestler doing comedy and then me to do comedy later on and run into him doing comedy, like of Humboldt County of all places, and like to open for him and talk, like that was pretty crazy for me. So like, yeah, I enjoy, obviously the real comedians, but that was a pretty big one. Mick Foley was like, wow.
Literally.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
I feel like wrestling has been a huge part of your persona. I remember even in your early open mic days, you would wear this huge bedazzled bell to call yourself the champion. And I still am not quite sure what that meant, other than you are definitely a champion. But what is that from?
I've now become a 3-time champion since you've last seen me. I have 3 belts. I have Ebony Pegasus as a whole nother wrestling persona. Maybe one day you can talk to him and have him come do an interview. But
when he says he has 3 championship belts, that's because he bought 3 belts.
Okay, that's
Why you gotta do this?
He did
Why
not
do you
wrestle.
have to
He
do
did not
this?
wrestle anybody for the belts.
You're right.
I just think that in
Let's make it clear. I have
Yeah.
not wrestled anybody to earn those belts. I have wrestled people to keep them, though.
who's trying
So
to
yeah,
take your
let's make
belts?
that very clear.
in
I
honor of
have
transparency.
had to fight people to keep my belts. One of them being Trevor Lockwood. So he can testify.
see that.
So
I can see this being a very special show
Mhm.
coming up.
Here's weird things that I've noticed about comedy. Very closely related. Comedians very often are also musically inclined. They really wanted to be musicians, but they took comedy. And also, a lot of stand-up comedians love pro wrestling. I didn't know anything about pro wrestling, but I guarantee you drop into any comedy scene on the face of the planet, at least a couple of them are also going to have those belts.
I love both of those things.
I mean, I grew up with China Doll and Steve Cold,
Yeah.
See?
Steve Austin, and The Rock back when, you know, he was The Rock. So yeah, no, it's a real thing. I'm gonna let's switch to wrestling. So who's your favorite wrestler, Chris? No, just
Georgie Animal Steel.
yes.
Mine is Ebony Pegasus, and I'm going to let Pegasus know that you said that, Chris.
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Is that
That's just the only wrestler I know.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
She just thought he was a beef jerky salesman at first, but no, he's a
I was gonna say it's laughing to it, but I don't know if that's promotion, but
Yeah.
So back to the comedy festival, because we're not done there, despite how we can get sidetracked. Let's go back to, I know favorite memories are one thing, but what's a ridiculous memory? Because I just am so in love with the concept of, again, 150 comics coming into Humboldt County, taking it over. And I feel like there's a warning that goes out, particularly to Arcata and Eureka, that like these comics are going to come in. They're going to be, a lot of them go to hotels. I've had, 3 to 4 of them staying in my apartment at one time. Just like literally with me setting up cots and stuff, them sleeping on a couch. I don't even stay here. I stay at another comic's house the whole weekend. And it has gotten crazy, but like they all want to go hiking. They want to go to all the restaurants in the area. They want to see what Humboldt County is all about. And they're coming from all over the country. It's actually an exceptional kind of promotion for Humboldt, because all these people from all these places who take the microphone come into Humboldt County and just talk about it nonstop. And they're posting all over social media. It's an amazing promotion just for the county, though it also comes with a warning of there's 150 comedians who are going to be here. And I don't know, just one of my favorite things is, because there was I love the free burritos and pizza that came with the badges. Those were always cool, but I had a bunch of girls or women staying at my place. And this was one of the weekends that I went to stay with somebody in Arcata. They stayed here in Eureka. And they like I'd come back and stop in to, grab a change of clothes and, get ready to go to whatever show. And I just see like their trinkets that they're buying from in town, all these cool things. They're like, look at this tiny redwood tree. And then the last day they had cleared out and, they left me a thank you note and were like, oh, follow us on Instagram. And I was like, okay, cool. And like, I check and it's just nothing of the hikes that they did, them hanging out at the different statues in the area. And they left me a burrito. And I was like, that's just so sweet and amazing. And I had barely talked to them all weekend because I'd been hanging out elsewhere, but I felt like that was a nice connection. Every time I see them when I have traveled, to the Bay Area, which was where they were from, and have run into them, it's always been like, oh, hey, immediate like friendliness. Though, any favorite moments of yours, whether they be comedic or debaucherous or just sweet?
Well, that one year that the internet went out on day one and cell service went out and no one could contact me when I have to tell 150 people just coming to town where they had to go. That was kind of a memory that sticks out. That's a promoter type of view, but
mine was
well, we will get into your absolute favorite memories right after this quick break. You're listening to KZZH. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to Thursday Night Talks. I'm your host, Talvi Freed. I'm here with Chris Durant, Jessica Grant, and Josh Barnes, who has to leave shortly. So, Josh, I'm going to give you one. I do want to hear your favorite memory, but let's hear your favorite memory first, and then I'll ask you a follow-up question.
My favorite overall memory was, I'm not sure exactly what number the fest was, but it was when we rented out the entire Arcata hotel. And that Saturday night was just going room to room and watching all the different little scenarios of meeting people. Yes, scenarios that were going on, and people just bonding and stuff in different ways. And I thought that was one of the I felt like if we could have recorded one, that would have been a good one to record. That was a perfect movie sitcom kind of situation.
Awesome. So a follow-up question to that, which is, what do you have to promote? Because that's one thing that I know comics always have. They have something to promote, or anything. We'll do a round robin with everyone else at the end, though. What's just something you want those listening to know about the comedy scene, about your experiences, about what they can expect if they join, and what do you have coming next?
I think that this comedy community that we have compared to other ones is very opening and very welcoming. And if you get the chance and you want to try comedy, this is the perfect place to try and see if it's something you would really like to do. This community has been very, like I said, open arms. I've seen them take people in, and even people who get a little nervous or maybe aren't that, good at it at first, get encouragement to continue going on and to grow and become better. We're very fortunate here, and I don't think a lot of comics realize that at first, but this is a perfect place to grow and become a better comic. I do just joshing the last Thursday of every month. And next month, I'm on for the 7th and 8th. I have a show called Extra Extra that I do with Kalista LeBold, where we are going to do the news. And then I have an evening with Josh Barnes on the 8th, where we're going to play, Kalista's going to play the piano, and I'm going to tell jokes, which went pretty well the first time. So that's why we're going to try it again this time. Other than that, you can find my album Petty Since '83 on Bandcamp. It's also on Next Up Comedy if you want to watch the video. Soon it'll be on YouTube. And 37, the one that I just did in January, will be out shortly. We're just going to start getting that edited and have the video for that one as well too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I do know you have, if people don't think that comics can be family oriented, here's proof. Josh has to go pick up his kid. So,
yes, I gotta go.
So thank you so much, and I'll see you around town.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Bye, Josh.
Bye. Have a good one.
And now it's just one in the screen.
Finally.
I know, finally, he's out of the way.
Like he got voted off.
Right. He's been voted off the island. So, Jessica, any special memories that you've got from the festival? Back to that question. Even in the whole comedy experience that you've dealt with.
I mean, yeah, festival is the highlight. of every year for me. Not this past year, but the year prior, I was allowed to bartend for my first time ever on the second day of the festival. And if comedy wasn't already really kind of like a family dynamic, man, they tip really well to other comedians who are working behind the bar. So yeah, it was really great. I got to meet basically every single person on the festival that way because I was in one spot and they were just coming through. Yeah. I would say that or the after party, but I never make it to the after party because I'm always asleep.
Oh gosh. The after party is what, Saturday night?
Yeah, it's a closed party, but
I made it once.
yeah, I'm always so wiped out by then.
Yeah, I'm never going again. It's just bad. It's great for those who make it. But that was the year I was recording everything too. So I felt like I had to go.
Yeah.
And then I decided partway through that I was like, I got to shut this camera off because this is just too much. I actually had an hourglass too that year. And I was sitting next to William Toblerone, another fantastic comedian. And it would be, I'd flip the hourglass over and I'd be like, if I'm not back before now, come find me. And so like, and then it was just like this whole thing for a few hours. And then I was like, I'm putting the camera away. And then I flipped it one more time. I was like, one more time around. And then I went home after that because I was like, that was enough for me because it just gets that crazy.
Yeah.
Like it is a very wild experience. And I was like, that is way too much for me. Though I do want to talk about what is coming up in the future. Chris, you're probably the one who knows everything the most that's going on at the comedy club. What can people find there? When can they see it? What's going on at the comedy club or in the comedy scene around here?
We are the club's open 6 days a week, most weeks, and sometimes 7 because we do that Metal Monday on some Mondays. But yeah, we have live entertainment 6 days a week. There's Tuesdays and Thursdays have these guys produce shows. In fact, Jessica has one tonight. That is they locals produce shows, and they're really like theme or game oriented type thing, and not just straight up set up punch. And then most weekends we have national touring headliners. Like we have Chad Opitz this weekend and Saul Trujillo next weekend, and yeah, it's and then we have now the late shows are starting to take off even. So even on the weekend, we got a Friday and a Saturday show that starts about 20 minutes after the late show ends. So it's just something to do all the time.
Is it 7 days a week now, or
only when Metal Monday is on a Monday? Like we do Metal Monday once to twice a month or so, and it's never on the exact same day. It's always whenever the touring band is coming through. Oh yeah, the workshop too. We have workshops that Jessica does on Sunday. Oh man, I forgot about these. We have like Smash Bros Sundays. You can play Smash Bros. We have chess Wednesdays at 6. We have board game night is happening as we speak. So
do you still do the Jackbox games?
Now we just encompass it all on Thursdays as just one board game night but we had Jackbox as an option.
Jackbox, that was fun back in the day, especially because it's practically anonymous too. So like you wouldn't know who people are if they didn't tell you and they didn't use their real name on the screen, which was yeah, but it's also it's not like you're playing online with people. You're playing with people in the room with you. So still don't know who's doing what unless I mean, even though there's only 6 people there, you can kind of guess pretty quickly.
And when you play with comics, everyone they try to outfunny each other, and sometimes it's pretty darn hilarious.
It is really funny. I think it's always funny, but I'm a nerd. Which can you just imagine playing Monopoly with a bunch of comedians? Like, I have a feeling that could be entertaining as well.
Well, that game's too long. They need to stop and go get cigarettes about an hour in or something.
Fair. That is a lovely part of the comedy scene. I feel like that and 12-step meetings, there's something in common there. There's always like a lot of smoke breaks.
Well, there's some comics in the 70s used to go to AA meetings to get time.
And sometimes 12-step people go to open mics to get time.
Mhm.
So, yeah. More power to everyone, whatever you need to do. Jessica, what do you have going on?
I am hosting my show tonight. It is called Hey, That Reminds Me, and it's a nostalgia-based comedy show. The comedians will go up and do some standard jokes. And after everybody has gone up and done their time, we're gonna set up in panel and kind of do what we did tonight and just have like kind of a Socratic dialogue. And the premise of the show is just gives you a chance to grab the mic and relate whatever you want to talk about to whatever the last person just said.
That's tonight.
Yeah, tonight at 9.
And what's the address for those people who are like, where is this magical place?
That is 415 5th Street in Eureka. It is right between the Glassblowers shop and Surfside Burger Shack. For those of you who are longtime locals, it was formerly the Red Fox Tavern. And yeah, open every night for comedy at 9, except Monday. And then we always got something fun going on before comedy. What did you say?
I said we open at 6, but that's me being my promoter role. You said 9 we open.
For comedy.
Oh. Yeah.
And the website is savagehenrycomedy.com. Also follow us on Instagram and Facebook, as well as myself. I have an Instagram, Jessica #1, the word number and the number 1. And I also have an email list, Jessica Grant Comedy. If you have any questions about the workshop or anything, relating to comedy in the club, feel free to send me an email, and I check that at least on a weekly basis.
Right now, is there anything going outside of the comedy club for those living in, say, Southern Humboldt? I know during the comedy festival, it can often, it definitely traverses the realms of just Eureka and Arcata. And I know it's gone as far down as, Ferndale, Fortuna, even Rio Dell. Are there any events happening elsewhere?
Yeah, Scott Hoyle, local comic. I guess the best way to describe him is like satellite shows, but he's working with like Papa and Barkley and the Scotia Inn and what's the one in the dunes called? I forgot, but that nice resort
Humboldt
type.
Social.
Yeah, Humboldt.
Yeah.
So
but if there are people listening from Southern Humboldt that have a fun bar or venue that they'd like to bring comedy to, reach out to us, because we like getting out and about to do that stuff.
Well, you used to be part of Reggae on the River.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I don't know if we had fun there. See, I don't remember. That's how much fun we had. If we did comedy or just hung out, yeah.
I remember coming across you guys one day at Reggae. Reggae is just an experience. We don't need to talk about reggae. I should have a whole show just on Reggae on the River and invite. You'd probably be one of the attendees, but I feel like Redbeard has just that scope on it that just is magnifique. Just the way he puts things. So let's go into our round robin, which is where you get about 3 minutes just to talk about just letting people know whatever you think they need to know, whether it be something inspiring or a bit more history on yourself, just anything you want our listeners and viewers to know about either the comedy scene, yourself, you can self-promote, whatever you want.
Jessica, you want to go first?
I knew you were going to say that. Yes. So for myself, I guess I keep saying recently because it feels recent, but about 2 years ago, I left my job with the Humboldt County Library to pursue comedy full time. I've been working at the club, and this summer, with the help of Chris Durant, I will be going out on the road to do shows in Oregon and Nevada and Colorado. And I currently do not have any contacts in Salt Lake City, Utah. So if there is anybody out there listening that thinks like, man, my cousin is a comedian in Utah, which I think is something that nobody's ever said before in their life. Yeah, please reach out because I'd like to make some connections there. And again, yeah, check me out on Instagram, Jessica #1, and I guess friend request me on Facebook.
Is it like the full like NUMBER?
Yeah, and then the #1.
Okay, Chris. And thank you so much, Jessica, for being on the show.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, the Humboldt camp, we still get people that walk in the club sometimes. They go, I didn't know we had a comedy club. I mean, we're on Highway 101, so I guess they don't use the highways. But we are the only comedy club between the Bay Area and Portland, Oregon, like dedicated comedy club. And it just fit right in. So the people, I don't think some people in the community don't know the level of comics we're bringing in and stuff for like weekends or even our locals, how good they are. I mean, they spoil me. They make my job really easy because they're so good. But yeah, just give us a try, and plus laugh, or please laugh. We had a crowd the other night that forgot when they walk in, but yeah, please laugh. And all the schedule and everything's on the website. You want to see every show. It's usually chronologically ordered. So right on the homepage, you click that, and you'll see the show that's happening that night or the next night or whatever.
That is something that I think Humboldt County wasn't used to back when the comedy scene first started, is what do you do with a bunch of comedians? I remember because I briefly produced shows or attempted to, and it was almost like you had to teach certain crowds like it's okay to laugh, and that's a really big thing, that to let those listeners know that laughing is perfectly acceptable. It's not we're not Shakespearean here where it's a comedic tragedy. It's actual comedy, which might be tragic that anybody even wanted to become a comedian, but it is comedy and you're supposed to laugh and have a good time. Can we talk briefly about hecklers, and just Jessica, anything you have to say to hecklers?
I'm not clever enough to not be really mad in the moment at a heckler. So my go-to is just, you're not supposed to be talking right now. Unless you have been spoken to or the comic has directly asked you a question like, what is your favorite food? We're not really looking to hear from you. Unless it's applause.
We do have a show. It's almost going to be monthly, but dedicated. We just had one the other night called Heckler's Paradise, where we let the crowd just give it to the comics, but it's a two-way street also.
The one show you can call out at.
Yeah, and you won't get a shoulder tap from hopefully Jessica, but probably me being a grumpy old man.
Just gotta let them know.
Yeah, it's not part of the show.
You have to give people what they want. And if people want to heckle, they really just want to heckle. So that's about all the time we have today. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks
Go
for
check out savagehenrycomedy.com. We'll be back next week with another Thursday Night Talk. If you have topics or suggestions for the show, please email us at kzzh@accesshumboldt.net. And just a reminder, this show replays on Friday evenings at 8 p.m. right here on KZZH 96.7. You can also watch this show on Access Humboldt's YouTube channel. Thank you so very much for joining us. I'm your local host, Talvi Fried. See you next week.
See you later.